Welcome to Workforce 3.0. Today, I'm very, very pleased to have the president of Denison University, Adam Weinberg, with us today. Thank you, Adam, for spending so much time with us this morning. I'm anxious to hear Denison and your path to how you got to be president of the university and the things Denison is doing around connecting students to work. Let's start off by, can you tell me what has been your path to being president of Denison University? You've had such an interesting background, so interesting and not typical, I think, of people in your position. So can you share with us how you got
Yeah, so I think my career has taken a lot of different twists and turns, most of them kind of unexpected. Coming out of college, the only thing I knew for sure was I wanted to become a lawyer. That didn't happen. Was sitting around one night and somebody asked a simple question: if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? And when it was my turn, I said I'd go teach sociology at a liberal arts college. And then woke up the next morning and thought, then why am I going to law school? So I got a PhD at Northwestern. Taught at Colgate University for about 11 years, loved my time at Colgate. And when I was there, I went to Colgate as a community sociologist, really interested in how you build and sustain healthy communities. In the course of doing that, I became super interested in the world of work, in the ways in which work ultimately is what gives people's lives meaning, right? Gives it purpose, and the ways in which, as people become the architects of their own lives and build healthy lives, those really aggregate up to lead to healthy communities. And then I left Colgate. I had an opportunity to go spend 8 years running a global education organization that was working in about 80 countries around the world, an organization called World Learning. And a lot of the work we did, especially on the international development end, was again kind of workforce development issues. And again, I became super interested in the connection between work and meaningful lives and healthy communities. We were doing everything from kind of small scale entrepreneurship in Africa and in the Middle East to kind of helping people get retrained in different parts of the world. And then the opportunity came to come to Denison about 8 years ago. And I would say two things. One is I never, ever expected to fall so deeply in love with an institution as I have with Denison, or a region as I have with Columbus. But second is I was born in the Midwest, born in St. Louis. And having spent most of my adult life in the East Coast, it's just been super nice to be back in this part of the country.
Well, we're really pleased that you decided to come back. So, so having that global view in the organization you worked in previously, what do you see culturally? Are there differences in views of work between the United States and other areas that you worked in, or what people have needed to be ready to work, or how they've wanted to work versus what we have here in the U.S.?
So, of course, there's always differences, right? But I think what was more interesting to me was when you're working across so many countries in pretty much every region of the world, and we were working across age groups, right? Working from young kids to kind of adults, the similarities far outweigh the differences by far, right? In a couple different ways. One is, by and large, globally, people want to work. They want to wake up. They want to have something to do. They would like that work to be able to help them put food on the table and a roof over their head and support themselves and families if they have families. But they also are looking for meaning in work, right? Work that actually allows them to feel good about themselves, their own lives, and their futures. The other thing is that people globally need more access to education and different kinds of education at different points of their life course, right? That globally people have skills, but often there's a gap between what they have and what they need to get the jobs that's oftentimes actually do exist within their communities or regions. And so somehow we have to find a better way of giving people more access to different kinds of education in different points of their life course. So for me, it was really working globally and kind of beginning to understand that there's actually way more in common globally with conversations about work and workforce readiness than we sometimes realize.
So you have students at Denison and they're doing a 4-year degree. What are the things you think they're concerned about as they are working towards a degree and trying to figure out, okay, how does that degree relate to the kinds of jobs I might want, or how do I get those jobs?
Yes, we've been on an interesting path. We put our flag in the ground maybe about 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago at this point, and said that we really wanted to be known as a college that launches students like a rocket ship into careers and lives. And as we listened to our students, we realized that there were really three different questions that we needed to help them address. The first is, what kind of life do you want to live, right? Most of our students are 18 to 22, 23 years of age. And one of the great things about a place like Denison is there's lots of opportunities to just ask, what kind of human being do I want to live? Do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live? The second question is, how do I use some of my time at Denison to start to develop the skills, the values, the habits, the networks, and the experiences to get started? And then the third is, how do I launch, right? How do I make sure that when I graduate from college, I have a plan that I'm ready to take the first step, and how do I make sure that by my fifth reunion, I'm fully launched professionally to what I want to be doing? We began to understand as we help students answer those questions that the great thing about higher education in this country is there's 4,000 colleges, right? And they serve a wide range of students. Pretty much anything you want is out there someplace, but it can be really hard to figure out what you need at any particular time, right? And for our students, and for, I think, traditional students of the 18 to 23 years of age enrolled in kind of more traditional four-year programs, we're forcing them to make a false choice, right? A choice between a broad-based education that will serve them well across their careers, or a slightly more pre-professional education that will help them get that first job. And we need to move from this mindset of or to a mindset of and. And so we're trying to do both at Denison, right? We're trying to use 12 months, 4 years, the entire 48 months, getting students to focus on the liberal arts education during the academic semesters, because we know that's what's going to help them figure out what kind of life they want to lead, and it's going to serve them well over the course of their careers. But that using the time between the semesters way more strategically to close those important skills gaps, so that by the time they graduate, they're ready to show up day one and add value to any company, organization, or nonprofit that is lucky enough to hire them.
So that leads us then to the Launch Lab.
Yeah.
Tell us about the generation of that idea for the Launch Lab and how you see it connecting students to the Central Ohio economy and specifically Columbus.
Yeah, and so what's neat about the Launch Lab, so we've taken out real estate in downtown Columbus. The first time we've done that, I'm super proud that we now have it. We started off by creating something called the Knowlton Center. For anybody who's been in Columbus a while, the name Dutch Knowlton may mean something to you. This is a foundation he set up, and they helped us start a real state-of-the-art career service center on our campus to serve our students. Internships, externships, skills building programs, a lot of coaching and mentorship, connecting with alums and business leaders in the Columbus region. Super proud of the innovative work we're doing at the Knowlton Center. That then led to the creation of the Red Frame Lab for Design Thinking and Entrepreneurship. It's a center for entrepreneurship, helping students who have business ideas start new businesses. But the bulk of its work is really around design thinking, helping students learn to do design thinking, and then putting them together in teams to work on real world problems and opportunities for businesses and nonprofits throughout the region. Super excited about that. As we were doing the work of the Knowlton Center and the Red Frame Lab, one of the things we noticed, and you and I have talked about this before, is over the last 5, 6, 7 years, there's a lot of new players in the education to work space. And it includes ed tech companies and entrepreneurs and business leaders and academics and nonprofits and others. Many of these organizations and individuals have really good programs and products, but they have no way to connect with liberal arts students. And so what the Launch Lab is just an attempt for us to partner with all of those players, ed tech companies, entrepreneurs, business leaders, businesses, nonprofits, other academics, to offer what we're calling last mile and upskilling programs to any student enrolled in any liberal arts college in the country. So this isn't just Denison students, but it's anybody. From the moment you matriculate at your liberal arts college, you could be at Ohio State or Kenyon, to your fifth reunion. And last mile programs are the programs that close the skills gaps between what you're getting in your normal academic career and what you need to launch into whatever profession you want to launch into, right? And upskilling are programs you take a job, you love that job, but to get your next promotion or to just be more successful in the job you have, you just need to quickly gain a skill. And upskilling are giving you those programs. So the hope is that the Launch Lab will be the go-to place for liberal arts students from across the country who need those last mile programs or need those upskilling programs. my hope is that this will really be a talent driver for the city of Columbus. I've fallen in love with the city. I was very fortunate and lucky early in my time at Denison to get asked to sit on the Columbus Partnership Board. One of the things that happens when you sit on the partnership board is you start to develop this ethical obligation to use your leadership role to add value to the prosperity agenda of the city. And so I really want businesses, nonprofits, and others to say that the Denison Launch Lab put Columbus on the radar screen for thousands of recent college students who otherwise might not have looked to our region, who have wound up coming here, settling here, and are helping drive the prosperity agenda that we have for ourselves. So I'm really excited. We're just in the very baby stages of it, but it has huge potential for Denison, for the liberal arts, but also for the Columbus region.
Yeah, I just think this is such a unique niche. I have not ever come across a program that has that as its mission, right? Especially in that when you graduate to those first 5 years in the workforce. Because, so many graduates think, I finished my degree and I've got everything I've got to do my whole career. And we all know that's not true, right? You've got to be a continuous learner.
I think that's right. And you and I've talked about this a lot. I think one of the most beneficial things we do at places like Denison is we prepare students to be lifelong learners, because never has there been a generation of young people who are going to have to embrace lifelong learning, and that adaptability, flexibility, emotional agility, that openness to new ideas, that openness to continuing to seek out new ideas and new skills across their life course. I don't think you could have done something like the Launch Lab 5 years ago. There just wasn't, but there's been an infusion of really interesting players in this education to work space. What I love about it is, for a place like Denison, it allows us to say to our students, major in anything you want. Major in philosophy, art history, biochem. Major in something that you're going to be engaged in, so that you're going to be all in and you're going to learn a lot. Make sure you take a wide range of classes, right? Because the ability to think across disciplines and to connect different ideas, disparate ideas, is what's going to make you so valuable to an employer at some point in your life. But the other is, we then have the Knowlton Center, the Red Frame Lab, and the Launch Lab that will close the skills gaps. They'll close them when you're here, but we're also going to support you when you graduate. Because I really do think one of the values of a place like Denison is both what you get during your 4 years here, but we're going to stand by you those next 5 years as you launch professionally.
What I love about it too is that you're really embracing that liberal arts mission, right, of Denison. And so many times I think, liberal arts has gotten a bad rap with so much focus on STEM and not understanding, right, that both ways of thinking in one person really makes for a fantastic employee, right? And,
I totally agree with that. And I think, we've talked about this before as well, but if you ask employers across professions, just write down on a piece of paper the skills you need in your recent college grads. You come up with a list of 12 to 15. They're remarkably consistent across professions, and a lot of them are classic liberal arts skills. So, just as one example, I think we were the first liberal arts college in the country to develop a data analytics program. And what's really great about this program is our students are learning all of the technical skills that the data science students are learning at larger, more pre-professional programs, right? The ability to work with large data sets, to crunch numbers, to produce results. But they're also learning the liberal arts skills that makes those more technical skills useful in the world, right? So, for example, if you can't frame a question, if you get the question wrong, it doesn't really matter what the answer is. That's a liberal arts skill. The ability to kind of harness the power of diverse teams to work with data sets, to see data in a variety of different ways, right? The ability to communicate. If you learn something really useful, but you can't communicate to others who can use it, doesn't do us a whole lot of good. So it's really that combination of great classic liberal arts skills, but also closing those more technical skills gaps. That's what I think we're doing at Denison that's so important and powerful.
Okay, we're back. So let's move on, because you were, when I lost you, you were talking about the data analytics. So I think I got a good portion of that, believe it or not, even though you probably saw me as frozen. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on to the next question, or what I was going to say in response to you. What I wanted to say is, so we had been talking to quite a number of people in the technology space. Wow, you and I are having the hardest time today.
Is that a end or your end?
Really sure. I think I might. I don't know why it might be on my end, and I'm not sure why. So, but that's okay. We're good, right? We're flexible.
Good.
You're going to walk away from this and go, yeah, I'm never going to talk to Lisa again.
That's not true.
Let's move to, so one question I like to ask everybody that I interview for Workforce 3.0 is, what would you tell your 18-year-old self about your career journey, looking back?
I love that question. I think a couple things. One is, careers only look linear backwards, right? They just, they go in different ways. The second is, I wish I'd known earlier in my career that the failures that often turn out to be way more important than the successes. You just learn a lot, especially from those early career failures. And I was fortunate enough, my best friend, partner, and spouse of now 30 years was trained as a musician. And she often reminds me that artists talk about failure as practice, right? And so
I love that.
Yeah, right. I wish I'd known that at 18. I think the third is the importance of mentors, and mentors are not networkers. Mentors are something different. Mentors are people who care about you, who connect with you, and who really catalyze you, right? They really open up yourself to kind of new ideas and new ways of thinking about the world. Those are the three things that I think I wish I'd known at 18, but I slowly learned over time, but have been hugely.
That's fantastic. What is the last thing you want, as we leave here, that you want people to know about Denison and your vision for where you think Denison will be preparing students for future work?
Yeah, I'm super proud of the work, of the path we've kind of been going down the last 5 or 6 years, because I think what we're demonstrating is the ways that you give students the range of skills, values, and habits that they're going to need to not just be successful in their first job, but to be successful across their life course, especially with their careers and professions, but also personally and civically. What I want parents to say about Denison is really simple. I want them to say that my kid went to Denison and they just had a great experience, right? They quickly made friends. They found faculty mentors. We know that mentorship is one of the most important things that happens in college. We know that less than a third of all college students find mentors like Denison. That figure can hover around 90%. They got active, right? They got involved in co-curricular activities and followed interests that they came to Denison with. But one of the neat things about a place like Denison is they were able to open themselves up and develop new passions they didn't know they had when they arrived. And they developed a wide range of friends, right? They really learned what it means to live and work with people who are like you, but also people who see the world differently from you. And they learned to see that not as something to tolerate, but as a source of strength. Makes life more fun and makes us all more successful, more prosperous. And the best part is, not only did they have this great 4-year experience full of personal growth, but they were ready to launch like a rocket ship into lives and careers, right? That's what I want them to say. And what's hidden beneath that are just a couple of assumptions. One is that the range of attributes that students need are both about the liberal arts skills that we're working really hard to teach during the academic semesters, but it's also about closing some of those skills gaps that I don't think a lot of colleges have taken as seriously as they need to, that we're working really hard through the Knowlton Center, the Red Frame Lab, and our Launch Lab to close between the semesters. The second is the importance of really asking deep questions in college about what kind of life do I want to live, and how do I acquire the attributes to be the architect of my life? There's so many opportunities on our college campuses nationally. There's 4,000 colleges. Just about anything you want is out there. But often students don't find the right fit, or they find themselves on a campus without a roadmap to know how to take advantage of it, right? And I think one of the great things we do at Denison is we don't just provide students lots of opportunities, we provide them with the roadmap to take advantage of them. But the third is really the skills and the values of diversity, right? The world is going to be global. Our communities are going to become more diverse, more global, and we need to produce a generation that really knows how to live and work in diverse teams and to harness the tremendous power of diversity, to drive our communities forward. Denison is diverse by race, ethnicity, class, geographic region, political affiliation, religious practices. And what I love about it is our students are living on a campus, fully residential for 4 years, and they're learning to work and live across difference and learning to see that as a source of strength. So that's kind of that's kind of the vision. I'm super proud of the new academic programs we've created, our new global commerce program, which is really our response to an undergraduate business degree. I talked about data analytics, global health. We've rolled out a bunch of them over the last couple of years. But I'm also just super proud of the work we're doing across the college. And I'll kind of end with just one example of something that isn't super exciting, but it's super important. On many college campuses, students are now working. So we have a lot of students at Denison that have student employment jobs. And we're actually embedding that in this work to make sure that all of our student employment opportunities on campus also become part of helping students develop the attributes that they're going to need to be successful in the modern work places that they're going to graduate out into.
And I'm so glad that you're doing that too, because I think that's really important for students to have the opportunity to learn just how to work, right? Yeah. And what those key skills are. So
it's a 4-year period, right? For many students, some it's longer or shorter, but for students coming to places like Denison. And I think what we're doing a really good job of is capturing the entirety of those 4 years, of all 12 months, to help our students just develop a wide range of skills, values, habits, networks, and experiences. And that's what's going to lead them to be successful, both in their life launch, but also in their professional pursuits.
Well, I can tell you, as the person who runs the Workforce Development Board is concerned about having talent in the region, we're really excited to have Denison students consider staying, if they're not from this region, consider staying in this region, because there's lots of opportunity right here in Columbus and Central Ohio. And that talent is really important for us to continue to be that prosperous and that great of a place to go. So we hope we can retain your students.
And I agree with you. For the first time we met, we talked about this. What's going on in Columbus right now is so remarkably exciting. I mean, I truly believe that the prosperity agenda that many organizations in Columbus are working on, we are going to become a place that other people look at with and ask, how can we do that in our own regions? And I want Denison to be a part of shaping that future. But it starts with jobs, right? It starts with creating stable, meaningful, skills-enhancing jobs for individuals that allows them to then to be architects of their own lives, to take care of their families, to build strong neighborhoods, and then to aggregate that up to create a city that just becomes a model for what it means to talk about a prosperity agenda in a prosperous region, where that's shared.
Right. I think we share that vision. So fantastic. I want to thank you so much again, Adam, for joining us today and sharing with us what your vision is about the Launch Lab and Denison and your students. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.